A very good morning and welcome to the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sports book born in Vegas. We are going to have a great week, and you are here to help us. Jason Pogwis, Darian Mercurio, Ian Lights Out was in here early, Reed Phillips, Mr. Big, Brad Morse, Eric David. Thank you for being in here. Let's see how we did on the recap screen. A couple of good days from people, a couple of bad days. Sniper, not a great day. Danny Brasco loses 2 out of 3, but he did have a couple of big plus money plays, or at least one big plus money play as one of the losses. We go 5-7-1 overall. Shout out to Buckets for going 2-0. Mikey B 1 for 2. Of course, the Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum news did affect that particular pick. I'm sure Mikey B can get into that later. Chip pushes his play 5-7-1. Certainly not a great Friday, but we're going to try to improve today, right here on a Monday. Let's bring in the stars of the show. We got a lot of basketball guys here today. We got a baseball guy, and we've got a lot to talk about with Mikey B, AMags, and PropStarz. PropStarz, I'm going to start with you. Yesterday, watching the NBA was pretty crazy. I mean, I thought the Lakers ending was crazy. I thought the coaching in the fourth quarter was a little crazy. I thought Luka looked a little gassed, which kind of makes sense. But really, that Pistons ending, I think, had everybody up in arms. Did look like a foul to close the game. What was your takeaway from yesterday, PropStarz?
Yeah, it's a wild day of basketball. Certainly, all the games were no shortage of drama. Anthony Edwards' ascension into superstar, I think we're seeing that before our very eyes. Dueling LeBron and Luka, both at their best. So I've been very impressed with the Ant-Man as the Minnesota Timberwolves take a 3-1 lead. 95% of the time, the teams that win or go up 3-1 end up closing out the series. So certainly cause for concern in LA. But yeah, very impressed with Anthony Edwards. That was the most notable storyline as far as I'm concerned yesterday.
Certainly Naz Reid in the clutch. I mean, we've been touting Naz Reid for a couple of years now. I mean, he's certainly a better player than people think. Mikey B, your AMags says, not a foul, go Knicks. I mean, it was so clearly a foul that even the NBA after the game was like, yeah, our bad on that one. It was a foul. Anyway, your reaction.
Well, truthfully, I was just saying not a foul because I'm, from New York. I like the Knicks there, and I did hear about what had happened here, but I didn't personally see it. So maybe it was, maybe it wasn't. I guess it sounds like the refs didn't personally see it either because they didn't call the foul. But it makes me feel like from yesterday at my baseball games, we had an umpire that was a little bit shaky, right down the middle, 3-2 count. The call is not made, or it's 2-2. Sorry, the call was not made. It was called a ball. Next hit is an RBI double. So that makes me feel exactly the same way. Sometimes the umps and the refs are not on your side. You kind of just got to eat it and find a way to win the next one.
Mikey B, your reaction to NBA Sunday.
Yeah, the Damian Lillard injury is probably one of the biggest things. The Bucks are done in this series. They weren't going to win this series regardless. The Pacers are a better team. Yes, the Bucks have the better player, but the Pacers have the better team there. But now, if it is indeed a torn Achilles, which seems to be the case for Lillard, we're probably not going to see him next season either. I mean, today's April 28th. It's almost May. And his age with a torn Achilles. So then you have to wonder, what do the Bucks do next? They don't really have a lot of moves to make. They're up against the aprons here. Does Giannis request the trade? I'm sure we'll hear a lot about that.
Yeah, troubling stuff from Damian Lillard. I mean, obviously this Bucks team was going nowhere, but I mean, at least they could potentially look to next year, maybe build off Dame and Giannis. And now we don't even know. Maybe Giannis, to your point, Mikey B, request a trade. All right, let's get into some picks. PropStarz, I'm certainly going to ask you about some of the games today, but I know you have a pick that you're already on for tomorrow that people should probably jump on right now.
Indeed, yeah, we're going to back Jaylen Brown. I know that's a pick Mikey B had, and I'm going back to the well here as well. I think we're getting a discount on this combination line for Jaylen Brown, who was dealing with a nagging knee injury towards the end of the season. As a result, he was playing inconsistent minutes down the stretch, but the knee injury appears to be in the rearview mirror. He's coming off of a 41-minute performance here, so certainly at full strength. And again, getting a significant discount on this line. over 28.5 PRA, as he averages close to 35 PRA on the regular season. So I expect him to play 40 minutes potentially if this game is competitive. It's a closeout game. Also like the fact that it's in Boston, where he averages a full 5 PRA higher at home than he does on the road. So we'll happily take this discount on Jaylen Brown's combination line, and I would jump on this one now.
All right, we're jumping on Jaylen Brown over 28.5 PRA. When PropStarz puts a pick out on SportsLine, you're going to want to take it pretty quickly because we see the juice and the line itself tends to move. There was somebody asking, AMags, before we get to your pick, there was somebody, and I don't know exactly what he's asking. Looks like Dominionaire Properties says, been watching, is there any promo code to join? I assume you're asking about SportsLine as opposed to BetMGM, but the SportsLine, all you got to do, Dominionaire, is go to sportsline.com/join. And if you type in the promo code winners, you get 60% off the annual plan. That doesn't give you just Mikey B's and PropStarz and AMags picks. It gives you everybody's picks, but it also gives you a lot of the DFS stuff, the Discord, which of course is free and which is very active, which I think Larry was saying we have about 5,000 people in there. There's a lot of articles, soccer, UFC, you name it, NASCAR. We've got DFS plays. Kentucky Derby, I think, is coming up soon. We're going to have plays on that. It's all on SportsLine. So if there's a sport about it, we definitely cover it. And I got to say, we're not covering cricket too much, but we had Danny Brasco in the chat before the show to give out a pick because the cricket game he was talking about was going to start at 10. So he was nice enough to get in here before 10 o'clock. If there is a reason to sometimes come in here early, Danny Brasco, very hot for a couple of years now when it comes to cricket. So he's putting out picks pre-show. If you want to check those out, he's usually in here to do that. All right. Did I see that Buckets was in the chat? Yeah. Hello, it's me, Sia's little brother. That's Volleyball Buckets. I do want to say before AMags, you give out your pick, we've got a UCL show. We've got an extra show today at 2:30. It's going to be me, Buckets, and Martin Green. I'm just going to basically be mediator. It's going to be Martin Green and Buckets talking about the semifinals in the UCL and just all kinds of picks and props that you're going to want to consider. So that's 2:30 on this SportsLine YouTube channel. All right, let's go to baseball. AMags, I have a play I was really leaning hard toward, but I didn't want to make it official. I've been pretty tentative with my baseball bets for good reason, at least in my case, good reason. But you have a prop you like.
Yeah, and I know you had messaged me about that game, and I sent you a little bit of info on it. So, I don't know which side you were liking, but if you want to run that one, I think you definitely at least have the info for it. Mm-hmm. But my play here, look, as I was looking through the numbers that were out there, 15.5 on the number of outs for Griffin Canning here today. I think it's at least 1 out too low. It's 17.5. That would probably be a bad number. You take the under, but 16.5, I think, is really where this should be. We're getting 15.5. minus 125 for the over on DraftKings. That's where I played it. And, really with Canning, when you look at last season against lefties, not good at all. But this season, he's reinvented himself. A couple of guys that I follow have dug into some of the profile of what he's doing with lefties. And it is much different than last year. So he's had success against those lefties this year. This is a lefty heavy order against the Nats. This little wraparound series, Friday to Monday, you don't get too many of these, but the Mets are in a long haul right now. They don't have another off day for about a week. Actually, I think it's May 8th. They have an off day. So they're running right now. This series against the Nats has actually got a little bit sideways. That 5-run 7th inning yesterday, and then the 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th to lose the game. They had a big lead. They gave it all back. And we know the Nats bullpen is not one to really lock in. They've been one of the worst this year. So I would not be surprised if Trevor Williams or the Nats bullpen comes in a little bit early, if they come in early, if Williams leaves, if he doesn't have a good day, one or the other. I don't think that pitching side has a great day. I do think the Mets can get out to a lead here to win this game. And Canning, that's really all he needs. Couple starts back, he got sick, but he went 6 innings over 100 pitches right after that. And then Carlos Mendoza, after his last start, said, look, he was pulled after the 5th inning for a couple of reasons. One was that the Phillies lineup is tough. He'd given up 7 hits through 5 innings. He got out of trouble in the 5th inning. He had a couple guys on base, struck out the final batter that he faced. And that was pretty much it for him. It was the first time on 5 days rest. And so that was a big piece for Mendoza, why he didn't go back out for the 6th. I think today, after what happened with the bullpen, knowing that they don't have an off day, it's been a long stretch. The last thing that they're really going to want to do is take Canning out a little bit early. I think he's a guy that can regularly get into the 6th inning. We only need 1 out in the 6th inning here. So I think the over 15.5 is a really good play for us today.
All right, and that is a 4 o'clock game. So we're going to have a little bit of late afternoon baseball courtesy of AMags. So we're gonna give out SportsLine picks in a second, and then after the break, I want everybody to know we've got the home run prop graphic for, I think it's top 3, might be top 5, but our top 3 sort of value SportsLine model value home run prop. So AMags, when that graphic comes up, I certainly want to get your reaction if there's a guy that you like, but there are some people that just absolutely love the Yankees. And I noticed in the SportsLine app, there were a lot of Yankees picks, and it makes sense against the slumping Orioles. Japan says Yankees minus 1.5 at plus 125. And then there was Zach Dyer saying, what about the Yankees first 5 minus 128 as Venom makes an appearance? AMags, your reaction?
Look, I will say I like the Yankees today, but I'm a little bit tepid because Sugano throws like the kitchen sink at you. And for a Yankees team that they can, run some pitchers out of the game really early, they also can get dusted by these random junk ballers. This guy's not going to strike many guys out. All of a sudden you have a few soft contacts and the Yankees are in like the 4th or 5th inning with really nothing to show from offense. So I will lean Yankees, but I'm not 100% sold on them today.
Can I give you my lean? So I just so everybody knows, look behind the curtain. I texted AMags because it was a play I liked. And I said, AMags, what do you think of Ober versus Gavin Williams? And I didn't tell him what I liked. I just said, what do you think? And so AMags sent me like a little screenshot of how he would handle that. And he thinks, it's 53% chance, I think you said, that Cleveland wins the first 5. So I like Cleveland first 5 in that one. It's not my pick. It's not an official pick. But I just think Bailey Ober, while he's been good and rebounded from that just terrible outing he had to start the season, I mean, some of it's been against kind of some bad teams, but there's so many lefty bats in Cleveland's arsenal. I just think this is the team that can get to Bailey Ober and like kind of have him revert back to maybe what we saw at the beginning of the season as opposed to the last few games. I think a lot of people like Bailey Ober today. I noticed a lot of people like his over outs and things of that nature. And again, I'm not big on Cleveland. I'm not necessarily big on Gavin Williams, but Twins have been terrible on the road. And Bailey Ober's facing a lineup that maybe like is the wrong lineup for him. So that's sort of where I was going with that Cleveland first 5, which I think was like minus 130. Hey, Max, your thoughts before we get to another subject?
Yeah, I was just looking it up. It doesn't seem like a bad play at all. Ober, he had a really bad blow-up start in the first start of the season, but last 3 he's been pretty good. The only thing I look at is like at least 5 hits given up in each of those games, 8 hits allowed last time out. So he may be pitching around some trouble. And if you get a team like Cleveland, work some longer counts, they get hits in the right times. A guy like Ober, if he's pitching around trouble, one day you don't pitch around trouble, you could have a real bad one. So I see your point.
Yeah, and listen, PropStarz, I know you're not fully invested yet in MLB, but I just saw you nodding your head, and it kind of felt like, I don't know, maybe this will end up being a play for me on SportsLine. All right, speaking of making plays, get a second chance with BetMGM. Players will receive their bet back in cash as a second chance refund on any pregame straight or NBA first field goal wager when the player they wager on does not score the game's first field goal, but scores the game's second field goal. Take advantage of this promo for every game during the NBA playoffs. How about some SportsLine picks where you can go to BetMGM and make some of these plays? We got the Dallas Stars +1 at minus 139, courtesy of Matt Severance. We got the Mets run line minus 1.5 at even money from JLC. And then we got Davion Mitchell over 11.5 points at minus 120 from Prop Bet Guy. We got to get to more basketball. We got to get to some home run props. We're going to do it right after this message from our partners.
One of golf's elite courses, Quail Hollow, hosts the game's top players at the PGA Championship this May on CBS.
We are back on the Early Edge, brought to you by BetMGM, the sportsbook born in Vegas. Before we get to that home run graphic, Mikey B, let's get you involved because we just gave out the Davion Mitchell over prop. How about 2 more props for us?
All right. So first, one, Sia, believe it or not, I'm going with a side. Even this early in the morning, I'm going with a side. So let's start off with that. Let's do Cavaliers minus 8.5. Now, Darius Garland is listed as questionable, toe injury. He didn't play in game 3. Guess what? Didn't matter. Cavaliers won by 37 points. And that was with Donovan Mitchell scoring just 13 points in that game. They've won all 3 games of this series by at least 9 points. If Garland doesn't play, they've got plenty of depth. We've seen Ty Jerome go off plenty of times off the bench. The Cavaliers are the vastly superior team. They've shown it throughout this series. So I like them to sweep the Heat with another lopsided win. And then, okay, So yeah, let's go back to player props. Let's take Jalen Green over 8.5 rebounds and assists. I got that at plus 102. It is minus odds in some books, but I would still play the over. After he scored 38 points in game 2, he had just 9 in game 3, but it wasn't an overall stinker line for him. He still had 6 rebounds and 5 assists in that game. He's combined for at least 10 rebounds and assists in all 3 games of this series. Now, during the regular season, he averaged 33 minutes a game, 4.6 rebounds, 3.4 assists. He's averaged 35 minutes per game in this series. I wouldn't be surprised if he plays closer to 40 minutes in game 4. This is basically a must-win for the Rockets. They don't want to go down 3-1. So I like him to go over 8.5 rebounds and assists.
Speaking of a must-win for the Rockets and PropStarz, I'm going to kick something off of you as well. And don't worry, that home run prop graphic is coming later in the show. Mikey B, this is a 4-point spread. And I imagine and I haven't looked at it, forgive me. We don't know if Jimmy Butler's playing. He's still questionable, but where are you leaning in that regard? And do you have a lean on this side? I
would lean towards the Warriors. We don't know if Jimmy Butler's playing yet. I guess he was being quote unquote worked on yesterday. I would assume he's probably going to try to play here, but that was a nasty injury. I mean, he really hit hard. If you don't mind the juice, I would probably feel more comfortable just playing the money line. I mean, it's pretty juicy at minus 175, but I would lean Warriors covering, but I don't know. I'd like to see what happens with Jimmy Butler. If he's cleared, I mean, this is going to go up at least a point, probably be at least 4.5, maybe 5.
Oh, sure.
I guess.
Yeah. PropStarz, your take here.
Yeah, I would agree with Mikey B. A lot hinges on Jimmy Butler's status in this game, but really just have not been very impressed with Houston, just not really getting a lot of production outside of Alperen Şengün. Jalen Green's been highly inconsistent, 2 duds, 1 good scoring game, and then, guys who were really solid contributors all season long, like Amen Thompson, really hasn't shown up. Fred VanVleet, despite playing like 45 minutes per night, has done almost next to nothing. So, just not a lot of confidence in Houston's production. They really are a paper tiger, which I kind of anticipated, but didn't expect them to be quite this bad in the postseason. But I do lean Warriors here for sure.
Yeah. Can I add one more thing to keep an eye on? Draymond Green, yes, he's a great defender, but man, he's putting up no stats in this series. I almost made this one of my picks. I was talking to Ben about it before the show started. I really would like this if Butler doesn't play. His points, rebounds, and assist line, I believe it's set at 19.5. He's gone under that in all 3 games of this series. He never shoots. Now, he did take 11 shots with Butler out in game 3. He only made 3 of them, no 3-pointers. So I'd be keeping an eye on that. If Butler gets ruled out, I would definitely play the under on that. It might drop to 18.5. I'd still probably play the under on that if Butler doesn't play.
Rick Funcannon in the chat says Cavs Golden State money line parlay. I mean, listen, I think I don't want to say it's pretty clear the Cavs are going to win, but like, it's just hard to see the lack of personnel that the Heat have. It's hard to see the Cavs losing that game. So to me, Mikey B and PropStarz, if you want to make the Cavs a parlay piece, I mean, I don't like getting in the habit of doing that, and they are on the road, and they are playing for respect, but the Cavs have so much to throw at you. And bottom line, the Heat don't. Any reaction to that parlay?
I don't like it at minus 101. If you're gonna do a parlay, I want it to be plus money. So can you do Cavs minus 2.5 and do it that way and maybe get it up into the plus 115 range, plus 120? That I would consider, but I don't know. The Warriors one makes me a little bit more nervous. So I would probably just avoid it, especially, I mean, it's basically even money. That's not enough for me to do that.
PropStarz?
I would agree here as far as the Cavs are concerned. If this is a spot for the Heat to win a game, it's this one. And then Houston, are going to be playing backs against the wall in this spot. So wouldn't surprise me if either Miami or Houston won tonight. So, not something I'd be rushing out to bed.
All right. By the way, I love the banter between Jeff and AMags in the chat. Jeff Steffberg, of course. Speaking of AMags, let's take a look. I know Ben has the home run prop graphic for us, and this is courtesy of our SportsLine model, of course. These aren't AMags values specifically, but I am going to ask AMags about them. We got James Wood. So obviously the real odds we see on the right-hand side and on the left-hand side. If you're listening to the podcast, we've got 2 columns here. We've got real odds on James Wood plus 540, and the SportsLine odds, they say it should be plus 450. We go down the way to Francisco Lindor plus 300 versus plus 350, and then Jacob Wilson plus 850 versus plus 900. Certainly James Wood, not the actor, is the one with the most value here. AMags, any reaction to this? Or is there another player you might have had your eye on?
I kind of like Lindor from this list. I'll be honest. That'll be a hit run RBI play for me later here today. It's at 2.5, but you're going to get plus money. He's picked up 4 hits in the last 3 games. I definitely do look at some of those recent numbers, I guess we would say, right? Try to make it as recent as possible. Pitcher versus hitter. A few years ago, 18, 19, 20, not a lot of success against Williams for Lindor, but in 2023, the most recent, he was 3 for 6 against him. So I do think, he can stay hot and have a good day. So I like the plus 350 there on Lindor.
All right. Plus 350 on Lindor. And it looks like, AMags, you might be on the hits, runs, RBIs, but you're waiting for it. Is this the type of thing that you'll jump into the SportsLine Discord at times and just kind of fire it there?
Yeah, we'll post the hit run RBI plays in the Discord pretty much every day. I do try to put some of them on Twitter as well to give some over there too, but it really is heavy Discord, like every day, an hour or two maybe before you get those lineups or before the games start is usually when you can look for them in the MLB Expert Picks tab.
Yeah, we've got a 162 game regular season. We got the postseason, which goes into football. And AMags is telling you that if you're a member of SportsLine, you can jump into the Discord. And it's not just him, but oftentimes it is him throwing extra plays in there that you can tail. And by the way, I've dipped in there myself, not to give out plays, but just to kind of see the chat. There's a lot of a lot of you in the chat. And a lot of you that aren't in the chat but are members of SportsLine. There's some sharp people in there, AMags, as you well know. So it's really good, educated banter back and forth. So maybe you just want to listen in. Maybe you want to be a part of the discussion. Either way, that's what the SportsLine Discord is for. Love to see AMags jumping in there on a daily basis. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's get to the recap screen. As for my pick, I didn't have an official pick, but I am leaning towards that Cleveland first 5 money line. I may make it an official play later. We'll see. We've got SportsLine picks, but these are the picks from the experts. We got Griffin Canning over 15.5 outs, Jaylen Brown over 28.5 points, rebounds, and assists. We got the Cavs minus 8.5 and Jalen Green over 8.5 rebounds and assists. That one at plus money, plus 102. Let's take a look at the SportsLine picks. We've got the Dallas Stars plus 1 at minus 139, the Mets minus 1.5 at even money, and Davion Mitchell over 11.5 points at minus 120. Of course, you had the home run props. We're going to have the extra plays in Discord. Many more plays tomorrow. We've got the Early Wedge DFS show tonight at 7 o'clock. Early Wedge betting show tomorrow at 7 o'clock. And today at 2:30, it's Martin Green, it's Buckets, and it's myself. We're talking UCL semifinals, all kinds of bets. Hopefully, you'll have some bets for us in the chat as well. For now, we're going to get out of here. On behalf of AMags, on behalf of PropStarz and Venom and Goose, I think there's a third cat. I always forget the third cat's name. PropStarz, who is it? Margo. Okay. Margo, Venom, Goose, PropStarz, AMags, Mikey B, and Ben on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. I bet you we get another 1 or 2 plays from Ben, some producer picks. Maybe not tomorrow specifically, but later on this week. He has been very hot in the NBA. Let's get hot. Let's turn that recap screen around. We were 5-7-1. Let's make it a winning record for tomorrow morning. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for being a part of the show. We'll see you very soon, perhaps at 2:30 on this SportsLine YouTube channel. Until then, we rest our case.